we may have some people that will come in sort of as we go, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock, and I'm going to promptly pass this over to Superintendent Jack Caldera.
Good evening, everyone. Today's prayer service is actually part of our commissioning. It's a tradition of our SEAC. Sorry, there's feedback. Is that me? It's far away. Okay. So we're going to begin this evening. You know, there's a lot going on in our world and our personal lives, but very fortunate to be welcoming everyone back, and we'll begin with our invitation to prayer. God, the source of every good gift, you have called us together as servants to do your will. Grant us the light of your Spirit to guide us in our responsibilities as members of SEAC. We make our prayer through Jesus Christ, the light of the world, who lives forever and ever. Amen.
Word of God, Corinthians 12, 4-11. A reading from the first letter of Paul to the Corinthians. Now there are varieties of gifts, but the same Spirit, and there are varieties of services, but the same Lord. And there are varieties of activities, but it is the same God who activates all of them in everyone. To each is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good. To one is given through the Spirit the utterance of wisdom, and to another the utterance of knowledge according to the same Spirit. To another faith by the same Spirit, to another the gifts of healing by the one Spirit, to another the work of miracles, to another prophecy, to another the discernment of spirits, to another various kinds of tongues, to another the interpretation of tongues. All these are activated by one and the same Spirit, who allots to each one individually just as the Spirit chooses. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. God has called us to serve the students of Halton Catholic District School Board. Together we pray. May we work together in harmony for the common good. May we listen to one another in a spirit of genuine respect. May we encourage and reference one.
Thank you very much. So moving along to item, land acknowledgement. Thanks, Margaret, you're right on it. Thank you.
Halton, as we know it today,
is rich in the history and modern traditions
of many First Nations and the Métis.
From the lands of the Anishinaabe
to the Attawandaron,
the Haudenosaunee,
and the Métis.
These lands surrounding the Great Lake
are steeped in Indigenous history.
As we gather today on these treaty lands,
our Catholic social teachings
call us in solidarity
with our Indigenous brothers and sisters
to honor and respect the four directions: lands,
waters, plants, animals, and ancestors
that walked before us.
All these wonderful elements of creation exist,
gifted to us by our Creator God. We acknowledge and thank
the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation
for being stewards of this traditional territory.
Thanks so much, Margaret. Okay, now we can move on. So just to remind everybody that the meeting is being recorded. It'll be available later on for anyone who's missed the meeting or any of the public who would like to watch the meeting. And just if we have any items this evening that need to be moved and seconded, just say your name clearly so that I can hear you, and then I'll make sure that it's there for the recording. Okay, moving on to item 1.2. First of all, welcome back, everybody. I hope everybody had a great summer. As Jessica said, it went way too fast. I estimated it to be about 20 minutes long. And, but nice to see you all back, and I'm really looking forward to another great school year. We have, as you'll see tonight, we'll go through some of the stuff that we have upcoming, but I think it's going to be a really great year for SEAC. Some great presentations ahead and just opportunities for collaboration and learning. So nice to see everybody back. Thank you for being here. Item 1.2 is the approval of the agenda. You will have seen a copy of the agenda in your meeting package for this evening. Was there any questions, comments with respect to the agenda? No? Okay, if I can get someone to move the approval of the agenda. Rick moves it. Do I have anyone to second it? Amanda, thank you. Great, thank you. Perfect. Item number 2 is declarations of conflict of interest. Do we have any declarations this evening? None? Perfect. Okay. I know. I'm trying to move it up. Maybe it's this. Okay, so we are moving on to item number 3, which is our presentations. Thank you to our speakers for sitting so patiently and waiting as we get through some of the housekeeping items here. So I'd like to welcome Jen McDonald and Paula Giordani, who are here to present on Second Step, the Bullying Prevention Pilot Project. So welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I am Paula Giordani. I am an itinerant child and youth counselor with our board, and I was part of helping promote and bring this pilot to our board. So this evening, we are going to provide you with an overview of the 2023-2024 Second Step Bullying Prevention Pilot, as well as the summarizing the main findings from the program evaluation. Next slide, please. Thank you. So in November of 2023, Glenda Brown, the senior manager at that time of the mental health portfolio and the CYC department, and I connected with Anthony Cordero and Cassandra Jack Caldera and presented this proposal to for the pilot project to be implemented. Anthony Cordero did provide the funding to purchase the program for the schools that were involved in the pilot. And the goal was to pilot the program in 4 families of schools that had been reported as having increased incidences of bullying, hate, and bias. And that was based on evidenced by data. And so the 4 families of schools that participated in the pilot were Notre Dame, Corpus Christi, Holy Trinity, and St. Ignatius of Loyola. The pilot program included an intentional implementation to ensure the success, and after much consideration, it was decided to set realistic expectations and focus on 2 elementary schools per FOS. And so we were intentional in choosing those schools where there was a strong CYC to co-facilitate and then also to support the program. And this program is CYC led with teacher support, but there is also a parent communication component where they receive a home link to then participate in what the students were participating in class to continue that learning. Next. So the Second Step program helps to promote that positive classroom and school climate. Specifically, it provides the students with a safe and supportive environment. It reinforces the classroom rules and the norms that support a safe and respectful behaviors. And then overall, it's nurturing those positive relationships with all students. Next. So this prevention program consists of 5 lessons, and it's designed to promote the classroom and school success and a sense of connectedness while creating a safe, respectful school climate and promoting positive mental health and well-being. The lessons took place once a week for 5 weeks, and during each lessons, the students learned the different ways of how to recognize, report, and refuse bullying. This poster was displayed in each of the classrooms that participated in the pilot, and a copy was also provided to the principal for he or she to have in their office, and it gave the students the framework to identify and respond to any situation, not just bullying. Next. The Second Step Bullying Prevention Program was piloted in 9 elementary schools. It was Canadian Martyrs in St. Timothy's, Sacred Heart of Jesus, St. Elizabeth of Seton and St. Anne's, as well as Our Lady of Peace and St. Andrew's, St. Bernadette, and St. Mary's. The pilot reached just over 800 students. To be exact, there were 345 students in grade 3 and 457 students in grade 5. And we had administrators involved as well as 44 educators. It's 8 CYCs were delivering the program, 36 teachers were part of that implementation. Plus we shared resources with the school staff, so several additional teachers were indirectly involved with the pilot. So the implementation began in February of 2024, where the CYCs participated in the Second Step online training and delivered the pre-lesson. It was a modified introductory lesson that just enhanced and reinforced the classroom rules that had already been established earlier in the school year by the teacher. And then started the 4 BPU lessons with the students. At that time, letters were sent home introducing the program and what the evaluation process would look like. The CYCs took lead on lesson delivery, but the classroom teachers were expected to facilitate follow-through activities and recognize and reinforce the information covered within each of those lessons. A final component of the program was to engage the families with the home links, completing activities with each of the lessons. Although only the CYCs participated in the online Second Step training, teachers and school administrators received resources and support from myself to help enhance the capacity among all staff, and that included a slide deck and a guide with the Second Step terminology and strategies. Next.
All right, thanks, Paula. So as you could probably tell from Paula's last slide, there was a strong evaluation component built into this pilot. We had several evaluation questions, but overall we wanted to find out how implementation went and whether it's beneficial for students and schools to participate in the program. So in other words, were the intended outcomes met? Next. So to help answer our questions, we used multiple data types and sources that are shown here. So student learning data was captured through summative knowledge assessments. These were provided by Second Step and assessed students' understanding of some of the key concepts taught throughout the bullying prevention lessons, and they were different for each grade. We also collected anonymous student data to help understand the perspectives of those students, and also we collected staff data from those involved with the program. And the student survey questions came from existing tools and measures to help us learn what students think about relationships and safety and bullying at school. And students basically completed the same survey twice, so we could see if their responses changed over time. And most of the questions asked the respondents to think about the last month when they were answering. So that's why we waited until June to capture the post-program data, as you saw on the timeline. And I just wanted to point out that because the surveys were anonymous, we couldn't directly match the student samples on both surveys. But we looked at the demographic profiles and they were very similar. And we also had very similar response rates both times. And it was quite high, around 86, 87%. So that was great. We had a really good response. Now on the CYC and teacher administrator surveys, we did those to collect the staff perceptions about the pilot implementation and outcomes. And we did hear from most CYCs, but we had lower response rates from the teachers, only around 19%, and administrators 33%. So that is a limitation that should be kept in mind. And then finally, we pulled suspension data, and that was from May and June 2024 to represent post-program. And then we compared the number of suspensions, and that was for any reason other than substance related. We compared that to the same months in the previous few years. And we did that for the pilot schools as well as a comparison sample from the same families of schools. Next. So here are some results related to the first overarching question about implementation. So our survey data from the CYCs indicated that implementation of the program went smoothly and all main aspects of the lessons were delivered with fidelity in all of their Second Step classes. And you can see on the right what some of those were. However, most teacher respondents did not report that they delivered the majority of the follow-through activities, which is something that they were tasked with doing, although again, the sample is very small.
We also found that there appeared to be CYC and teacher buy-in. So all respondents agreed that they felt it was valuable for students to participate in the program. Also, most staff indicated that they gained an awareness of how to address student bullying behavior, and they gained confidence about addressing it. So students indicated satisfaction with the program. The survey data showed that students, and that was especially the grade 3s, were at least somewhat engaged with the program, since most respondents said that they enjoyed the lessons and activities, as you can see in those top 2 bars. However, the students appeared to be less engaged with the after-school activities. We could see that 43% said they did not participate in most of those home link activities. But in general, most students also expressed that they were glad their class participated in Second Step. Next, please. And to look at the impacts of the program on students, that was our second evaluation question, we focused on comparing their responses on the pre and post surveys, as I mentioned. And first, we wanted to find out if students had more empathy or social awareness, and if students and staff perceived more positive relationships, belonging, respect, and kindness at school. And just another little limitation that I wanted to point out, it was a pretty short time period, less than 3 months between the pre and the post data collection. So we have to consider that it might not have captured significant changes, especially, and as we'll see in the results, several scales and items already reflected positive student perceptions on the pre-survey. So perhaps there was little room for improvement. But for the findings, comparisons of ratings on scales capturing social awareness, peer relationships, and inclusion did not show significant pre and post differences in the percentage of students with positive responses. Although, as you can see in the first 2 columns there on that chart, it did appear that students provided more positive responses on the social awareness scale after the program. Also, the percentage of students with positive perceptions of respect and kindness at school did not increase on the post survey. And that's not shown here, but it kind of hovered around 80% of students with positive responses both times. However, as shown in the bottom chart there, data from teachers and administrators suggested that staff perceived some improvements in student respect and kindness after the program. Please. So the rest of the results are actually going to focus on safety and bullying related outcomes. And first, we investigated if students gained knowledge about bullying after participating in the program. And from those summative assessments, we found that most student participants had a good understanding of the main program concepts about what bullying is and how to respond. Around 80% of the grade 3 students and 81% of the grade 5s got at least 80% of the questions right. So they had mastered that. Also, if you look at the chart, the student survey data suggested that most students understood different bullying prevention concepts after the program. So over 90% reported that they had at least somewhat of a better understanding of the importance of being respectful and kind, the differences between bullying and conflict, and what to do if they think someone's being bullied. So we also wanted to find out if students were more comfortable with responding to bullying after the program. And even though the students, as we saw, seemed to have a good understanding of how to respond to bullying, survey data did not suggest that this program helped increase their comfort with refusing or reporting bullying. And that was especially the case for the grade 3s. As you can see in the table, there were actually some slight decreases in the percentage of students who indicated feeling comfortable, but those were not significant. And also, most students, as you can see already, did seem quite comfortable before the program. I also wanted to mention that all teacher respondents felt their students appeared more comfortable with reporting bullying incidents after the program. So it's just a different perspective. Next. Okay, so next we explored whether students and staff had improved perceptions of safety and bullying at school. And we found that students reported feeling safe pretty much both before and after the program, as you can see in the table. There were some slight differences pre and post. Also, if you look at the chart, the survey responses suggested that in the month after the program, students felt bullying at school happened slightly less often. And our staff respondents also indicated that they thought students felt safe and that they also noticed fewer bullying behaviors after the program. Next. Okay. And finally, we wanted to know if there was a change in reported and actual bullying incidents or suspensions. And as we can see in this table, the student survey results appeared to be positive.
So more post-survey than pre-survey respondents answered no to questions about whether they had been bullied or stayed away from school to avoid getting bullied in the last month. For example, 70% of respondents said they were not bullied in the month after the program, compared to 65% before the program. And you can also see there appeared to be slightly less grade 5 students who noticed or experienced cyberbullying. And on the bottom there, the suspension data did support this. If you look at the chart, we can see a small decrease in infractions at the pilot schools after the program, so May to June 2024, compared to that same time period in the previous year. So it went from 11 last year to 6 suspensions this year in the end of the school year. But I wanted to mention that there is no change in bullying related suspensions. We actually didn't have any recorded in the past few years in those pilot schools. So we did look at all the suspension data. But in contrast, in those comparison schools, there was a slight upward trend in end of year suspensions over the past 3 years. And those comparison schools, as I mentioned, were in the same families of schools. Next. So overall, the evaluation of HCDSB's bullying prevention pilot suggested several positive outcomes, and that was based on feedback from our students, CYCs, teachers, and administrators, as well as suspension data. However, there did appear to be some opportunities to further engage teachers and families, and also work on enhancing students' comfort with refusing and reporting bullying incidents, especially among those younger students. And I did add some examples of some of those opportunities here based on the evaluation results. But I know that the CYC department is currently reviewing their options for next steps. And so I guess I'll keep it at that. And thank you very much for your time today. And Paula and I are here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much. I jotted a couple notes down, but before, is there anybody that have questions, comments, anything you want to know more about with respect to the presentation? Okay, I'll start. So I did have a question about, and I'm glad you had that last slide there, but ideas around sort of strengthening that home school piece, because it was interesting. I wasn't surprised to see that students weren't doing the home exercises, right? They get home, there's so much stuff that's going on, but we know that those are important conversations to be having at home. We know that that often can be the root of, some of these pieces. And so, do you know if some of the plan is to take a look at, how we can better strengthen that home, sorry, I'm like doing this just so I can see, that home, the home school piece specific to this particular program? Great, sure, jump on in. You're like on the buzzer, Jeopardy.
I know. I also think to add to our new senior manager of CYC's comment, we did do the pilot towards the end of the school year, which is typically a very busy time of the school year. Personal, kids involved in sports, events like graduation. So I think in some of our discussions, we even talked about beginning it a bit earlier or not during the last 3 months of the school year, so that we can really, like the beginning of the school year really is when most parents are, starting up and eager to hear about programs that are offered in the school, and there's a higher engagement with the school at those times of the year. So looking at just the timing of the program would be really interesting as well as an option.
It also, yeah, and I agree. It would also be interesting to see what some of that data looked like if you started earlier, just in general, right? Or there's some bullying incidences that were happening earlier in the year that resolved themselves towards the end. Were we seeing some, things like that? So it'd be really interesting to see that, depending on when you had it. Yeah.
I have one question. Like maybe you mentioned it, but it was not clear to me. How was the universe of children participating in the program chosen?
We selected grade 3 and grade 5 classes in the schools that were part of the pilot project.
So it was like the full class, not like sending formulas to the parents. Do you want to? No, it was like
the whole class.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
On that, and I know you sort of touched on it, but is the plan to expand that, to take a look at different grades? Again, I'm saying this very anecdotally, but we see, a lot of stuff that happens in grade 7 and 8. So we just.
Unfortunately, the lessons that Second Step have put together for this particular unit, it starts in JK and it goes till grade 5. Interesting, it is. It's very interesting. And so I did do a deep dive in trying to find a program that would cover the ages, like the grades from JK to 8, and there really is not a lot. So Second Step is working on it from the last conversation that I did have with them, because we do work closely with the organization. So it's in the works, but I'm not sure when it will be available, if it is something that they're going to put together.
And that's fair, Paula. I mean, I see, some of the advantage of this, taking a look at, you want to catch these early, right? You want to build these conversations early and these, the understanding of kindness and all of those pieces. So I completely understand that. I think just it would be interesting to see what the 7 and 8 different approach, what are they thinking? What are their experiences, right? Like, I imagine that it might be a little different. So yeah, if that ever happens, I think that would be great to take a look at that. Was there any other comment? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, you may have touched on it and I probably didn't catch it, but I was wondering how you plan to get the conversation going on the school front and not limiting it to the pilot project. So what plans do we have to get the conversations going on a regular basis?
So I know last year when we implemented the program, there was a PowerPoint presentation provided to the administrators of those schools, who then, during a staff meeting, started those conversations around the goals of this program and providing the other staff members the same language that those targeted classrooms were learning. So I assume that if we continue with this, that's going to be the path that we'll take again, is providing those tools for the administrator during those staff meetings to then share that information and support the staff, who then will continue the conversation with the students in their classroom. Welcome.
For taking the time and being here and presenting this. I really appreciate it. Yeah, take care. Thank you. Okay, so item number 4 is the approval of the minutes. Again, the minutes would have been a part of your package for this evening's meeting. If anybody had any questions, comments, anything with respect to the minutes? Oh, look, you caught that. All right. Okay, great. So if we could just go ahead then and get someone to move to approve the minutes from our last meeting, that would be great. Jessica?
I'll move it.
Okay, sorry.
Oh,
sorry,
Jessica.
Okay, great. So moved by Amanda and seconded by Jessica. Perfect. You will have also seen the Business Arising chart. Kind of slim right now, and that's okay. I imagine that's going to build itself up over the course of this school year. So keep your eye on that. If you have any questions about it as we move forward, please don't hesitate to do that. But yeah, I imagine we'll probably be adding some items to that as we go. So we'll continue to keep that there as a standing item. But in the meantime, was there any questions about the Business Arising? Yeah, Jessica, go ahead.
It's a question. I'm not sure if it's for this section or the calendar events. Do you foresee when we would receive the ONSYS summary again this school year?
So I think that's probably something, so just from a procedural perspective, I think it's probably something that we could add there so that we know that it needs to be reported on a regular basis.
Just asking because I didn't send the calendar of events.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure where to.
Yeah, but I think maybe it could be both, but go ahead, Cassandra.
We just submitted it today, so it's prepared. We can certainly add it, as you mentioned, as an business rising, or I'm open.
I think what we do,
how we present it.
Yeah, I think what we probably do, just if I'm thinking about this from an ease of use, maybe we add it there so that it's kind of like a standing item in our business arising, and we can make a note that. But then when it falls in for presentation, will depend. And then that way, when we're making our agendas, we can make sure we're going back to business arising to say, okay, was there something we needed to add into our calendar of events or anything like that? Okay, great. Thanks for bringing that up, Jessica. Moving over to item number 6, we do not have any policies for review this evening, but we will continue to bring those forward as we have been previously. If there's items that we need to bring forward for SEAC's review and commentary, we will absolutely do that. We're just back into our cycle anyways. We've only had one policy meeting so far for this school year. So, okay, action and information items. Item 7.1 is the reminder of upcoming meeting dates. Those were also provided. Oh, Margaret's got them right here. I don't think we have anything, like there's nothing in there alarming, right? Like there's nothing in there. Okay. Good, all right. And I don't know if it's already been done, Margaret, because you normally do it, but maybe not. Have we already sent out the dates in advance for the upcoming SEAC meetings? Like to get them into calendars?
Those are already in everybody's calendar.
Perfect, thank you. That's awesome, wonderful. Okay. Item number 8 is board committee updates from SEAC representatives. We have not had any meetings yet. Again, just into the swing of things. Although we started early this year, felt like we've already been back to school for months, but we haven't been having any of our committee meetings yet. So any of those standing committees where we have representatives on. But again, as the school year moves forward, we will start to see that. And as always, if we have opportunities that present themselves, we'll definitely come to SEAC, with the committees that are looking for representation. Listen, if we miss something and you see a committee that has been struck or you've heard about it and you think that there should be SEAC representation, I think SEAC should be on everything. So if you see that, please just bring it forward, and we can certainly reach out to whoever is in charge of that committee and just make sure that we can get representation, okay? Or if there's ever a time where you're interested in being on something, also happy to have you participate. So we'll look at that as we go through the upcoming school year. Okay, moving on to communication to SEAC. So this evening we have our trustee report, and Trustee Kelly is going to provide our report this evening.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So not much of an update, it'll be pretty short. We did have a few policy reviews. It was just overlooking a few of the current policies. A lot of it was just wordage. And our main... Yeah, I'm just reading the updates on there. And the main thing that we wanted to discuss was the multi-year strategic plan. So that is pushed forward. We've done a few news releases of that. It's going to be released on social media with our new Believing, Achieving, Belonging, and Becoming. And basically, we're going to be monitoring an accountability framework, which will look at what we're going to do throughout the year to make sure that we're following through with our plan. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, there hasn't been a whole lot. We've only had a handful of meetings. But we are looking to have a presentation at the SEAC committee with respect to multi-year strategic plans. So, I think it's really important that we do that. There was a lot of conversation. People here, you all had a chance to weigh in on that, to have sort of a say on some of the planning that was done. I think it's very reflective of the population that we represent. There was a lot of very intentionality around inclusion, acceptance, our students with special education needs. And so I think it'd be great to now have someone present on, here is the culmination of all of what went into it, how it's been developed and what are some of the priorities moving forward. And even just the fact that we've added that additional pillar of becoming, I think is pretty great. So we'll be having that presentation at one of our upcoming meetings. Okay. And as always, we encourage you, if you ever want to attend our board meetings, please feel free to do that. Or they're also available on our YouTube channel. Okay. So now over to you, Superintendent Jack Caldera, for the superintendent report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as we started off the meeting today, a welcome back to all of you. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing some new staff members that are here tonight. So Chanel Bernier, she is our new Senior Manager of Social Work. You would know our Senior Manager of Social Work, Patricia Codner, retired, and Chanel will also be assuming the mental health lead role for our board as well to better align the portfolio of social work and mental health. And she's just right over here beside our Oliver. And you've met Araya Shin, who is our Senior Manager of our CYCs, and you would know Glenda Brown, retired in June of 2024. So we have two new additions to our senior team. And then I've highlighted some additions in terms of our consultants, and in brackets, the family of schools that they support. As well, you would have known Rhonda Boyle retired last year, June of 2024, and we've hired a replacement DHHI cert. We've also included in our EA complement an itinerant role that focuses on safe management. So really trying to be very responsive to the growing needs within the school board, and really excited about the work that's ahead of us. So this month we've recognized our FASD, the Wear Red, Touch of Red, which I believe was September 9th. We had a Terry Fox Walk event, actually just Friday. We had one at the CEC, and each school had their own walk. And then today we lifted up the survivor flag, and we are in the National Truth and Reconciliation Week, and with our National Day of Truth and Reconciliation taking place on Monday. So a lot going on, and with Terry Fox in particular being, really a pillar of hope, and someone whose guiding principles really resonate with the work that we're doing in our role as SEAC, and certainly in the special education department. We had some new schools open, which was very exciting. One of which is St. Josephine Bakita, who now holds one of our, we have a spec ed connection because they do now have a CLC class in the north. It was only available in Oakville. So we're really trying to be as responsive to the needs, and really fortunate that we had a principal and a school team at St. Josephine Bakita who were really excited about this opportunity. And so those classes are up and running. As well, new this year, we have shifted, I guess, the Change and Transformation, which is an alternative learning program that is hyperlinked in your minutes if you haven't had a chance to take a look at, back to special education services. So the history was it started in spec ed, and then it was floundered and went around in different portfolios, and now it's rightfully, I think, back in special education. And we've also inherited and looking forward to working on a number of adult and alt ed programs, specifically GROW. We want to make sure that schools and communities know a lot about this program. It's a great program, and I don't think a lot of people knew about it. We are we're in the growing stage of understanding what it is and how we can augment awareness and access for students who would post-graduation, so post-21, they would have this option, and it's out of Merton. So it's like a great program, a best hidden secret, I don't know, but we don't want it to be a secret anymore. So we're really excited about that. This year, we have 3 policies. The first one, I think, is more of I don't know if it's an official policy, but it was an update. But December 10th and May 13th, we'll be seeking your valuable feedback on policy II-20 and II-40. So the last review cycle was December 2021 and May 2022. So They're there for you to start to look at and read, review, and as we grow closer to those dates and receive information from the committee that reviews these policies, we'll share them with SEAC and get your feedback as well. So I did have included in your minutes or my report the special education plan. Each board is required to submit by July 31st, 2024. And we received a lot of valuable feedback, and that's embedded inside the special education plan with the hyperlink. And not on your minutes, but in the minutes you'll receive, I've included the ONSIS information and the requirement that it's the Ontario School Information System, short form ONSIS. We know that education has its own EduSpeak, and each school board is required to submit that data by September 30th. So we were early, and we'll be able to share that information on an upcoming SEAC meeting, as we discussed just a few moments ago. So monthly communication, parents would have received the regular annual update around CAS and duty to report, as well as information about attendance and attending school. Next month, before we meet again, we'll be recognizing Thanksgiving, and just a reminder that there is a PA Day, October the 11th, 2024, so there will be no school for students on that day. And I'll go through some additional updates. So every year, we allocate support for students through educational assistance, EAs. And so before the end of the school year, we take a good look at the student data, and we make sure that we are allocating EA support, resource support, all the supports that are needed for students to learn and to thrive. But what we've done in the September kind of, not reorganization, but in this window of taking a look at who's come to school, who's moved, who's transferred, students, we were able to look at where some of those needs needed to be adjusted as far as their EA complement. So there might have been a bit of changes in some of the schools. I know there were a number of schools that increased their EA support, but of course we have a finite number of that resource. So there were some schools that received an adjustment, but happy to say that the schools that required it received it, and the startup has gone fairly well. And we do have some itinerant EAs who are supporting safe management this year, in addition to our other EAs in the itinerant roles supporting family of schools, because we know that that's a need that kept coming up, that we need safe management training. And so we've added that to support students and build capacity. From Denise Colley, we have all classroom teachers and ECEs who have a student who uses an AAC, which is Augmentative and Alternative Communication System, are being invited to a half-day training session on how to support the use of AAC in the classroom. And they're jointly led by an SLP, a CDA, and a BA. The deaf, hard hearing, and blind low vision teams presented at the new CERT meeting, which took place on September the 17th. And the Speech and Language Department is introducing a new resource, Expanding Expression in Kindergarten. Each school was given a copy of the resource, and SLPs and CDAs will facilitate 6 sessions in each kindergarten classroom to demonstrate how to use the program to support oral language development. Very excited about this opportunity, and every kindergarten class will get an opportunity. And then recruitment for participants for the after-school skills development program has started, and we'll be running 4 social skills development groups using children's friendship training and peers. So again, great things in Halton Catholic that we're able to continue. From our psychology department, and Oliver is here tonight, we have 3 new graduate practicum students that are supporting our team, which began this month. 2 of our team members have presented a refresher about CATIA achievement testing for CERTs, with a more extensive training opportunity coming up. And our mental health updates, 3 placement students have joined the CYC team. 2 CYC members will be presenting at the St. Clair Catholic District School Board regarding the Mind Up programming at the Social Emotional Learning, the CEL conference, which is a great opportunity and testament to all the great things that are actually happening in our board. We do have some CYCs that are supporting the mental health portfolio. It's a growing need in our board. We also have a social worker, 2 social workers who are also supporting our mental health. We're creating a mental health team. So we had a lone ranger. Glenda was the mental health lead, and there were lots of people who came together to make that work, but recognizing post-COVID and you know, a lot of the complexities that we're dealing with in schools, that we need some designated point people to support mental health. So we've expanded the team from 1 to 4, and really excited to have social workers and CYCs on that committee. And we also have a CYC equity committee that will be running again this year to deepen the department's collective and ongoing learning. And we heard about the Second Step Bullying Prevention Program, so I won't go into that one too much. And then for our social work department updates, there's been some internal restructuring. So some social work positions have kind of shifted. Some of our staff have been shifted. And we also have 2 itinerant elementary school workers, one for the North schools and one for the South school, that are adding an extra layer of support. So you can see the theme is really that tiered wraparound support. And lastly, from our coordinator and consultants, we had the first BOSS special education meeting. All certs, sets, and department heads across the board were out of the building. I was nervous, but it worked. I had my phone on me, wondering when am I going to get a text message from a principal, but they managed, the schools managed, and it was a great opportunity. You walked into the room and there was all this energy and all this talking, and it was great to have everybody out. We sometimes just have certs and sets and then department heads at a separate meeting, but this was the opportunity to have all 3 groups together. Topics included eLight and SEA updates, review of external assessment training, KTIA refresher training, and then the afternoon provided time for gifted teachers, SDC, CLC teachers, department heads, and life skill teachers to have their own CLC led by the consultants. So there was kind of breakaway groups. The SEA department has developed a new delivery process. We're going to be using Purelator to help improve the delivery process and tracking of equipment, more importantly. And there's some important dates. Special Olympics cross country will be held again at Kelso Conservation, and the dates and the rain dates are provided for your information. And Trish isn't here, but usually so. We purposely put the trustee report before the SO updates, but if there's anything that's missing or if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask, and I'll stop. Yes?
Sorry, did you have a question, Trustee Saunders? Yeah, you're a great question. Like I said, there's EduSpeak. It's a whole separate language. So safe management is really how de-escalation strategies and responding to student behaviors through a program with prompts and strategies and tools to help students in engaging with social peers, dealing with the conflict, variety of settings, variety of reasons. And we use that training as a unifying way of supporting students. It's the program that we use for responding to our student needs. And so we will have staff that are hired, maybe they need a refresher, or sometimes just having some one-on-one time to consolidate the learning or consolidate the training. And of course, new staff, we want to make sure that they receive the training as well. So what would happen in the past is we wouldn't have a designated point person to do that training. It would be like, okay, who can do what, who can do it? And this way we have designated people to kind of deploy into the system, and it doesn't disrupt the regular services of the itinerant certs that are, or itinerant EAs, so that they can continue to support their schools, and the schools that require that extra support receive that support without disruption. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. Is there any other questions about the report? I have a quick one. It's more just about, do we think when we take a look at our calendar of, do we think we could have someone come in and talk about some of the stuff that's going on for alternative learning? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I'm actually really excited about this. You know, we were laughing, you know, special education is a big portfolio, mental health is a big portfolio. Some boards have them separate. They're not even the same person. And so we ended, and then I acquired more, but it's good more. It's the good more to have. And I think that based on that natural partnership and collaboration,
we're learning a lot about what the program's offering, and we're infusing that spec ed piece more so into those programs. And I think we'll have some updates for you. We're very excited about it.
That's great. And I think we, from time to time, we do get questions from parents and from other families that want to understand more about what options are available for continued learning, for pathway planning, all those sorts of things. So, to see this, I mean, I'm eager to hear more about GROW, but any of the alternative learning stuff that's going on, because we actually don't talk about it a whole lot. We talk a lot about sort of what's happening either in our specialized classes or in our mainstream class. We don't talk a lot about that alternative piece. So I'm really looking forward to hearing about that.
For you, Madam Chair, I think if those of you who were here last year, we received a lot of information through an inquiry around the experiences post-secondary school for our deaf, hard of hearing students, and it really did prompt us to, because we do focus on our K to 12, K to our students, and really wanted to support them in the school setting and then into their vocation, whatever that may be. And so I think there was a natural inquiry, a natural passion, and that's kind of segued into being, partners in that post-secondary school experience as well.
One of the other things that I did have a question about, and it just came up actually at the end of last week. So one of the things that most parents would know that ministries implemented a cell phone piece, which is great. I'm totally supportive of it. But with that came questions around accessing certain social media accounts or accessing smartwatches, and we know that we do have students who utilize them in a number of different ways. But I did have a couple parents who are very specific about things like YouTube. That's a reward for some students, or that's what they use for. So how are we handling those types of requests, if you will, because I know that those sites have been blocked. So how are we handling that from a spec ed perspective?
Through you, absolutely. We had, best laid plans. We were going to streamline and make sure there was a vetting, and then I think realizing very quickly how dependent YouTube videos on elevators, fire trucks, all these things are an integral to the classroom. So we've been working with our Jason Maggio as well as with IT just to ensure that any resource teacher or any classroom teacher that requires that for diverse learners is accessing. And we just received communication yesterday was Sunday. Friday, communication came through about, patience, but it is in the works. So some schools have already had that access granted and others are in the queue, but,
Sorry, so then we could just direct parents if questions come just to contact their school and ask about, access or their cert, whoever that might be.
Yeah, I believe all certs, it's a big list. And like I said, best laid plans, we want to make sure that students are engaged in their learning. And then, of course, there's that one, that's the carrot. What did we do before YouTube? So yeah, this is, there's some apps and sites that we're working in collaboration. And to your point about the cell phone ban, there are some exceptions around students with exceptionalities. And so our board is compliant and, we're partners in that as well.
Thank you. Just thought in case other people have questions, I just thought I would ask that. As we wrap up the report, was there any questions at all? And I want to remind SEAC members that, any of these events that come up, so track and field or, cross country, any of those, you're free to attend. Please, if you want to come out, I know that they're during the workday and that isn't always feasible, but please always know that you're welcome to come. It's pretty awesome to see some of the things that go on and just the collaboration and the spirit. So please, if you can ever make any of those, just, I encourage you to do that if you can. So moving on to item number 10, which is the SEAC calendar of events. So Jessica, you asked your questions, so definitely we'll get that on there. You will see some things that we put in, and this was in the package as well. So you will see that there, for people who have been here for a while, that there's always dates that we keep for things like budget review and spec ed plan and things like that. They just slide in to where they're normally captured in a month. But we've also left some spaces for two things intentionally. One is if there's something like I just asked for a presentation. If there's presentations that, you think you'd like to have. So, we talked about multi-year strategic plan. We talked about alternative learning. If there's things like that come up, please send those through. If there's something that you want to hear more about, if there's staff that can present on something that we think will be of interest to SEAC, happy to facilitate that. So we've left some spaces for that. And also we want to encourage the individual associations to take the opportunity to present as well. In the past, we've had a number of different associations that have presented. Gifted has done it. I know the Voice of Deaf and Hard of Hearing, Voice has done it. Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. We've had, we know that our representative from Down Syndrome Association have done it. So I really want to encourage, I don't think Easter Seals has done one in a while. I'm looking at you, Amanda. But I really want to encourage any associations. It's a great opportunity to share what your group is doing, ask questions, all that kind of stuff. So we've left some space in the calendar for those also. So just if you want to do that, just reach out and let us know and we'll schedule that in. Yes.
Yeah. Just quick question. How do we canalize that? Like, is that an email that we would say,
Yeah.
for example, from the Halton Down syndrome, we would like to make a presentation, let's say in March?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, you're in. Just send it. Yeah, you can send an email.
Send an email and
Yeah, if you want to send an email to Margaret. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so Margaret's going to follow up anyways with instructions on how people can do that. But yes, it's just an email to say we need March because Down syndrome aware, whatever is coming up. So we need to present that.
And the other thing is like these events, just to me for understanding this is like SEAC events. It's not that if the association has a special event, it's not to be put in here, or is it like, for example, we have a walk in June for awareness, but I don't think that one fits in there.
So what would happen with that? You're correct. So this is a calendar that would be, items that will take place at our SEAC meetings across this school year calendar. So it would be things again like association meetings or spec ed policy review or things like that. What you're talking about, we definitely want to hear. Those can either be when you do an association presentation, you might say, hey, every March we celebrate this, or, hey, every June we celebrate that. But then you can also feel free, at any time prior to the meeting to sort of say, hey, like we've got a walk coming up. Here's information on that. Or, but these are more so that we can plan around presentations so that we can allocate time in the agenda to make sure that, so individual association events, there's a different way to communicate that to SEAC members. It's a great question though. I'd like to hear more about those as we go forward, because I think there's a lot of things like, the Gifted ABC's been great about sort of saying this is a conference that's happening or this could be of interest, sharing information. I think we've all been pretty good about that. So we'll continue to do that. Good. Yeah, Jessica, please.
This time, this really is the calendar of events. I think last year we tried to have a presentation come in regarding de-streaming, but it never occurred because it was postponed. Are any of those spaces for that?
Go ahead. Do you want to? Yep.
Yeah, so that came up in our last meeting. We did share at the last meeting, a recording of the meeting before I was here. I don't know which month it was, but there was a meeting on de-streaming. There hasn't been, that year was a rollout of change in the curriculum for grade 9 and 10. And so it was kind of a response to understanding those changes for those who were thinking about students going into grade 9 and 10. We haven't received any change to the curriculum as far as the ministry requiring, there's like the tech credit, but de-streaming is now in its third year. Is it third year? Yeah. Third year? Yeah, so we had talked about, and then we shared the previous meeting that was when it was brand new and had all the rollout information. So if there's something in addition to that you're looking for, but we
I think our questions were in regards to how are the diverse needs of the students addressed. I know UDL is supposed to be used, but teachers do require training, especially at the secondary level, because they're used to teaching to that credits curriculum. Like maybe information on how the teachers receive training, or have there been additional funding that go toward implementing de-streaming?
Yeah, we have an SO who oversees de-streaming, so we can certainly invite him to come in and speak.
There has been funding, but for this year that we're in, that's gone. So there was funding over the last 3 years to implement it fully, but that was one of the little disappointments that we faced this year. But yeah, I think did you mention then Superintendent Kroll? Because I think he could also speak to this as well in terms of de-streaming. Yeah. I think between the two, they could probably put it together, yeah.
I've only been here a year. I'm still trying to figure
the
out.
org chart, Jessica, and figure out
I get
who's
mixed up.
responsible.
I get mixed up whether it's budget or whether we have on paper or whether they actually do it.
You're making me
So-
second guess. I was like, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. So what we can do is just so that doesn't get lost, if you want to just send out a quick email and maybe be intentional sort of on those pieces, because I think to Superintendent Jack Caldera's point, yes, it probably was like a de-streaming in generality, kind of like, is there anything new? But if there's components of that, so if you're looking for a follow-up, if you're looking, if there's information there that we want to know more about as the de-streaming has been rolled out and in now for a couple of years. So if you want to just put in there maybe some of the pieces that you look to have staff cover on, then it would just be, I think, more beneficial that way. So we're answering the right questions.
Yes, I will do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. If you have any questions about this after we leave, please feel free to send an email. That's it. So item number, like I'm looking at the clock. Item number 11 is meeting, somebody take a picture of that clock. Meeting summary and next steps. Don't have a whole lot other than, yep, Margaret's gonna send out some stuff. So look for what Margaret's sending, because some stuff's coming out. And again, I really do encourage you to reach out if you have presentation topics you'd like to see us cover. Our next meeting is Monday, October the 28th. Resolution for absenteeism. I'll need a little bit of help here, Margaret. So we had regrets from Abiola and Brianna. And I received regret from Trustee Powell. Okay. That's it. Okay, so could I get a motion for absenteeism? Okay, great. Thanks, Maria. Okay.
I can second it.
And Rick will second it. Great. Thank you so much. All right. Moving on to adjournment and closing prayer. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Okay, thank you, Tracy. And seconder, Jessica, thank you. All right. Do I have mine? I'm going to share with you, Rick. Is that okay? Oh, yours is there. Is that okay? I don't know how that happened. Okay. That's over. Good. Thank you. Okay. If you'll join me in the sign of our faith, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Blessed are you. Thank you, everybody, for a great meeting. First one back, and we'll see you in October.